Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Luck It Out podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. Today, we are discussing Spider Man Brand New Day. Spider Man Brand New Day, a 2026 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Spider Man. Produced by Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios, Pascal Pictures, distributed by Sony Pictures, and it is the 38th film in the MCU. The fourth film in the MCU featuring Holland and the Spider-Man film series, following Spider-Man's No Way Home from 2021. My lord, that has been a long time. The film was directed by Destin Daniel Crichton and is written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. Tom Holland stars as Peter Parker alongside Zendaya, Sadie Sink, Jacob Babylon, John Bernthal, Florence Pugh, Tremel Tillman, Marissa Tomei, Mark Ruffalo. It is a stacked cast, to say the least. In the film, Peter anonymously uh, protects New York City as the hero Spider Man and investigates a powerful new threat while his superpowers undergo a surprising and potentially dangerous evolution. So let's break this down real quick. This is going to be kind of a more of a condensed review, non-spoiler. We're talking about it, just seeing it in a classic fashion. 40x. Yes, we had the chairs kicking and screaming and cheese, cheese, dees, go web, go. Beesh, beesh, beesh. It was smash, thrash, action packed, had all of the smoke effects coming. Sometimes it was raining on us. Sometimes this chair was nearly spinning and it circles. It was quite a ride. I will say that having just seen the Odyssey in 40x, I saw it in standard RPX, and then I saw it in RPX, and then I saw it in uh, R 40x. I'm getting all my acronyms messed up. That this was one of the more superior, bang for your buck type thrill rides with regards of experiencing, a 40x movie. Um, from the flight scenes to the fighting scenes to even some of the more more calm scenes, dramatic scenes, for going on a subway. You can kind of feel like the chairs kind of rocking a little bit back and forth and kind of going up and down in the way that it feels like you're sitting on a subway train, or if you're in the back of a car, that kind of deal. It was extremely interactive. I would definitely recommend it if you like that type of thrill ride. If you don't think that you'll be able to pay attention and you don't think that this is like your type of movie, I would not recommend seeing it in 40x. But with saying that, if you want the biggest bang for your buck, this was 3D 40x, getting full experience. I think it's one of the best experiences we've had at the movies since we saw Superman and 40X, which was kind of completely a different experience with how the 40X is treating you. Um, when you're in, when we were in Superman or 40X, the seat would kind of lock in, and it'd feel like you're kind of, gliding on a smooth, plane. And of course, there was some, good action, but the chair would whip back and forth left and right. This was much more of like a uh, felt like you were riding on the the time of your life. Like every time he was going left, left, right, like every time he was web slinging, you would hear, feel, or you would experience it from the chair moving, air going past your ears, like choo, choo, choo. Sometimes, like I said, you get wet a little bit, and it was just a full on experience. I um, would recommend it for these types of movies. Are we going to go see it again in a standard format? Possibly. I will say that the runtime of this was 145 minutes, so it's essentially 2.5 hours. I never wanted to say that I was bored through this movie because I think this movie is actually pretty superior to the majority of previous 10, 15 years of Spider-Man movies, excluding the animated films, that I was just gripped. I could feel it from an emotional level. I think that Destin Daniel Cretton has a way that he's blending very high dramatic tones mixed in with some of the most interesting action that you've seen. I heard that Jackie Chan actually choreographed some of the scenes in here for uh, the Spider-Man versus other entities or characters. I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but anyways, I think it's a wonderful blend of the action meets the dramatic um, storytelling. Crichton, the director, is known for working in Marvel before. He was the one that made Wonder Man, which originally was signed up for a season 2, and I was really excited. I mean, I thought the first season was phenomenal. For some reason, everything has flipped on its head. Basically a big 180, and now Wonder Man is not happening. Wonder Man 2 is not happening, I'm sorry. Um, but I thought that it felt like it was done on a budget that made sense on a smaller scale, but still kept everyone's attention and kind of filled in blanks that we were, curious about. More of like the movie industry or the Hollywood industry within the MCU and how it is supposed to interact with, the heroes. It basically explains that. And so he Crichton was responsible for bringing Wonder Man, and even before then, he directed a little movie called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which actually came out the same year as No Way Home, 2021. I thought that was a really phenomenal movie too. I think the ending could have been a little bit more tight knit, but I still was very impressed with the way that the movie formed, and I was pleasantly surprised by the performances in there as well. So, what's going on with Spider-Man Brand New Day? We're sitting at uh 2 hours 30 minutes, releasing towards the middle of late summer, budget of 225 million. It is the Monday following the opening, and we are sitting at just under $1 billion made since last Thursday. This is less than a week. We're sitting at 942 million in less than the first week of the box office. It is breaking records left and right. It is a box it besides the Odyssey, which has just shown that between Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and the Odyssey. First of all, Holland featuring in both, alongside Zendaya as well. It's the movies are back. I mean, it has been a bankroll of a summer between all these big movies that have come out. We even had what was it? Toy Story came out a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago at this point. Um, We have Obsession, Backrooms, the smaller indie hits that are making millions of dollars that are really between all these different types of movies, the Odyssey, the great epics, and the superhero films and the family films. It's just like the movies are back, baby. I'm here for it. And we're sitting here with Michael Giacchino, I believe. So you pronounce it again. He's responsible for plenty of the I think it has been the previous 3 Spider-Mans. Don't take my word for it, but he's been in the game for quite a long time. Um, Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, he has so many accolades under his belt. Even yeah, so he did the John Watts directed No Way Home score. he was responsible for John Watts's Spider-Man Far From Home, and he also did Spider-Man Homecoming. So he is 4 for 4 at this point. And honestly, no notes. I've been really pleasantly surprised, or pleasantly, you know, in entertained. Let's just say that. I was going to use a more elaborate word, but I think entertained is the correct word here. Um, so I kind of want to talk about the Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. First issue with all of those three movies is, I think the naming convention is just confusing as hell. I'm sorry if I might be alone on an island on that. I thought Homecoming was a weak title, and it was a fun movie. A lot of people love that movie. I need to go back and rewatch it to see how I really feel about the movie. I remember when it came out. I think we're sitting at, was it 10 years ago at this point? Um, let me see, almost 10 years, 2017. And when I saw it, it was the first time I think I had ever seen Tom Holland in anything. He had previously had a small role in Lost City of Z or something like that. And I was like, who is this guy? What's going on with this new character? And I thought that he did a delightful job as Peter Parker and played a quippy, fun Spider Man. But for the first two Spider Man, Homecoming, Far From Home, I just had a fun time. I was like, I had a fun, light time, and it's definitely not as good as my original Tobey Maguire led Spider-Mans. Now, I know that those are a completely different flavor from the Garfields and the Holland series, but it's been interesting to see the different takes, from the direction to the tone to uh, what is now, what feels like Brand New Day brings a much more mature Spider-Man. So what happens in the third movie, which is, spoiler alert for Spider-Man No Way Home. Again, the naming conventions are all just, it took me so long to get them correct. Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. No Way Home, spoilers again. Essentially, he wishes away everyone that knew him using Doctor Strange's powers, uh, essentially. And now his girl doesn't remember, his friends don't remember him. Nobody remembers who he is, as Peter Parker versus Spider Man. So people are aware that Spider Man exists. They do not know who he is or their previous um, interactions with him. So that creates quite a dilemma in what I would say is the bright and plucky um, Tom Holland led Spider Man. And so I felt like No Way Home was a mix of a lot of fan service because we brought back all of those villains, but it also combined some real stakes. So things happened in No Way Home, like losing Aunt May and having to reckon with the loss of his friends, family, and some of his mentors as well. I mean, he's lost like several mentors all up in between all of this. I mean, even in game, he every few movies he's had some sort of like big brother mentor esque type individual that he's looking up to, starting with Tony, giving him much more funding and giving him better tech, new suits, all of that stuff. And I think what's going on here is, this is reckoning, Brand New Day is reckoning with him having to deal with the loss of all of these things. And I think that's what brings this movie to the forefront for me, because it feels like, wow, we actually have had stakes. The first two movies were these, what felt like John Hughes styled films, a little bit of rom-com, much more light on the feet. John Watts did a good job bringing the direction in a way that felt like it was, leaning into the world, the tone, bright, sunny Spider-Man, but I don't think that he really hit it out of the park until No Way Home, which again, I need to go back and rewatch No Way Home to see if it still stands on on its 2 feet with regards to making it not feel just like a fan service movie, because I know a lot of people are saying that it doesn't hold up. But I remember what it felt like in the theater when all of the Spider-Men are on the screen. It is phenomenal. Like, it felt electric. It felt like people were like radiating out of their seats. We all had a wonderful time um, being in the theater for that No Way Home reveal. It was amazing. I can't even believe it's 2021. It's 5 years. So, what is going on with Brand New Day? It's the reckoning of all of the things that he's lost, and he's transforming physically throughout this film that makes it more like the Spider-Man 2 essence, where he was kind of like not able to control his powers to the same extent. This is like a fluctuation in power. And again, keeping it very spoiler free, the experience of watching Spider-Man Brand New Day is definitely what a lot of people are saying. I've listened to about 3 or 4 different reviews. The experience feels like 2 hour-and-a-half movies kind of mashed together in a way that works for me. Some people, and critics of the movie are saying that it I haven't heard this word specifically, but what they're describing is a bloated movie where there's so much happening, so many plot points that it probably should have been 2 movies. I think it lands the ball pretty nice. There are parts of the movie where it does feel like it rushes itself because there's almost probably 4 or 5 hours of movie that could have gone into this. It could have been like a full series, maybe 5 or 6 hours to get to this emotional plot, through line. So, with saying all that, I'd say Spider-Man Brand New Day has some of the best looking effects, some of the best looking uh direction, the action, even the light, more not light, but the more dramatic scenes that they combine them all in a way that feels, I'd say, more than just an entertaining comic book film. It felt very, heartfelt. Now, sometimes I gauge movies, or a lot of times I gauge movies by how much of an emotional response did I have. Like, did I cry through the movie? No, I didn't. Did did I feel like I was choking up at a couple points? I was like, yeah, I can kind of feel it. Um, but with saying that, I think the reasons that some of those emotional highs didn't get me in the way that that I would want to be feeling the feels is because it is so much story and it's having to go so fast to churn up so much of the plot that maybe it should have been a 3-hour movie and I would have felt some of the slower parts a little bit quicker, or a little bit more naturally, I guess. Um, so yeah, I with my criticisms of the film, I will say that some of the best looking stuff was the action. There was a couple scenes of them swinging that I was clearly like, "Wow, this does not look composited 100%." Him and MJ, and I was like, okay, so it's kind of an inconsistent film when it comes to some of the CGI work. It's some of the best you're going to see, but then some of the stuff looks like it wasn't finished. Um, again, we're sitting at like a $225 million movie, so I would have expected a little bit more time on some of those scenes to be, completely composited or something like that, but whatever you want to call it, color graded correctly. Um, Again, that's neither here nor there. I don't think it affected my viewing of the film because it happens in so few and far between scenes that there's so much good to like about this movie. I was just like, I could probably watch a 4-hour version of this. I don't know if I'd want to go to the theaters and watch 4 hours of it, but I would say that there's probably a longer cut of this movie that would even make it that much greater. With saying that, I probably gave it an eight out of 10. And anything else? I don't even think did we talk about John Bernthal. I wanted to talk about who stole this film. It's without a doubt the Punisher's uh movie almost just as well. I thought from the commercials, which or the trailers, that he's like I don't watch trailers, but I sometimes will listen to them and listen to people talk about it, and what it sounded like was, oh, there's gonna be a Punisher cameo, just like he's gonna be in one scene, and uh, Peter is gonna have to stop him as if he's just like a villain of the week kind of deal. No, he which they could have done. It felt like, oh, they're writing him out. He's gonna tell a joke. He's gonna tell Spider-Man to piss off kind of deal, and darn you, I'll get you next time. No, he is in this movie. He is vital to the vibe and feel of this movie. I've heard some criticisms that this is not the Punisher that's in the comics. They're not supposed to have even some sort of like uh moderate friendship at all. And I'm not going to talk about how much of a friendship or how little of a friendship they have in this, but I will say the connection of the Punisher in this movie is almost just as important as having Spider-Man in there itself. It's the tone of the movie is pretty downbeat. I would not say this is like your happy-go-lucky Tom Holland, Peter Parker, golly G Willikers kind of a superhero. He is sad. He's dealing with the loss of friends, family. He's isolated. I even heard people talk about this felt like very much like a post-COVID Spider-Man having to not, be around anybody that he knows. And I kind of agree with that to an extent. Like I was quite surprised how isolated he is. And not only that, how much Holland is not I think this is probably he has the mask on probably 40 to 50% of the movie, maybe more. I'd be curious to see if anyone has a statistic of how much Spider-Man there was in this movie, but there is much more Spider-Man in here with the mask on. Peter has the mask on probably more than he has it off. It might even be 60-40% cuz like for a while I was like, you know, most big actors that have superhero roles that have, like a Spider-Man or like think of Tony Stark or that type. Maybe Tony's a little bit different because you can see inside the mask. But if they have a mask on, or Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, it's easy for them to have someone. Think of the Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal is not under that mask like 90% of the filming. And so I was like, so technically Tom Holland, unless you're seeing his actual body and physique, I would assume was really only in about half of this movie because he doesn't have to be under the mask the whole time. Really, anybody can do it. All he has to do is put in the voice. Now, I think he was probably under it a few additional times when he didn't actually have to be. There was a lot of talk about being able to see Holland's eyes behind the mask, which is some of the first time I think we've seen it done like that. I can't recall Toby ever being able to see his eyes. I know most of the most of the Homecoming film series, the John Watts movies had uh the texture of the costume, his superhero costume essentially felt digital, and this one actually feels like a real fabric that they have on Tom Holland. So I thought it was an interesting blend, and how much Spider-Man you actually get in this is quite impressive. Even when he's just kind of snooping around the city and stuff like that, he probably has a mask on in this. It's it was a lot of bang for your buck with regards to that. So yeah, the action, the drama, I've already talked about it. It's just it's quite impressive with the amount of the blend of this movie. Um, I think some of the cinematography, some of the best that I've seen in um, the series. Brett Pollock is the cinematographer, and he's worked with DDC Crichton before, and I don't think he has a big resume. I tried to find him on Wikipedia, and I don't really see anything else that he's worked on except for Short Term 12, which was Crichton's um, movie as well. Let me see. He also worked as a cinematographer for is that in Just Mercy. That was a Crichton film as well. Okay, I did not realize that Crichton worked with Michael B. Jordan for that. I thought that was uh what was the guy that did Sinners? Okay, now I gotta find out what was his name. Uh, this is bugging me. Ryan Coogler. Damn it! I was like, why can't I think of his name? Oh, Coogler. Okay, so but yeah, so 8 out of 10. Basically, it's a thick boy of a movie. Several times I was thinking to myself, I was like, it feels like a long movie, but I'm not bored. And I was just running that through my head. I was like, I have no idea where this movie's going because it felt like each of the action scenes were equally just as good. And like I wasn't like bored at any of them, but I was like, I can't tell when the climax is happening because so much is going on all the time. And I felt like it was pretty evenly matched. The antagonists, I'm not really going to talk about them. Besides, I thought it was an interesting way to tackle and bring another, let's just say, entity into the world of the Spider-Man threshold, and I think they did an excellent job with the portrayal of that. It's a little bit one note with not having, being able to explore too many aspects of it, but I probably could have gone for 30 more minutes of, understanding this character, trying to dance around without saying anything else. But I enjoyed it. And Spider-Man having to figure out a way to, defeat this individual without just, fighting, I guess. And there's some, other individuals from previous Marvel Cinematic Universe lore that come into this, and I think that they're a wonderful addition. They don't overtake or over they're not overbearing to the actual plot and story. They're not like, hey, this is my movie now. Hey, this is just a cameo so we can have extra toys sold and whatnot. I really felt like they made sense to the plot of the story to be in this. And yeah, as a phase 6 film, let me see if I can figure out what all the phases are. I don't know if I can go through all of that, but um, I know that the past few movies have been very, I don't know, tough um, to to hop on board with. Or the last movie, we'll talk about the last movie, Fantastic Four: First Steps. It was a fine movie. I think people wanted to love it because of the way that it was introducing the uh, Fantastic Four, new characters playing them, different aesthetic, different time period. I think that it just, going along with First Steps, it had a couple missteps. It wasn't quite as funny. It wasn't quite as likable. That the action scenes were fine. I thought visually it was still pretty impressive, but it just didn't hit the ball in the same way that it, didn't hit the goal line the same way Spider-Man Brand New Day did. I just thought that everything that Fantastic Four wanted to do, it was like Spider-Man's like, here, give me this shit. Let me show you how to do it. And it just did it. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed Spider-Man Brand New Day. It was actually giving me vibes of the Thunderbolts, which came out, I think, right before Fantastic Four, a few months before. And it had a nice blend of, the Marvel comedy that can sometimes be overbearing, but it also had very interesting action scenes that weren't just punch, punch, gotta find out how to punch the, guy harder kind of deal. And, I really enjoyed them having to figure out from not just a physical standpoint how to beat the opponent. Um, Same thing here. Peter Parker having to reckon with all of the things that he's lost in the previous film, alongside having to find his way in the new world and having to beat an almost unstoppable antagonist. It kept me locked in, thinking, I was like, well, how are we going to do this? How are you going to figure this one out? Your webs can't always get you out of everything. So I thought that that was one of the more thoughtful parts of the film. So yeah, that's Spider-Man Brand New Day. Highly recommend. It's probably top 5 of my favorite Spider-Man movies. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Homecoming, Far From Home, and maybe even the Garfield movies to really see which ranking it's gonna go in between there. But I think it basically surpasses all of those films. It might be slightly higher than No Way Home for me. Um, and I look forward to watching it again, not in the 40X where my chair is just whipping around. I'm getting my ass kicked, getting slung in the wall by a Hulk. I'm telling you, that shit was next level. I was not ready. But so yeah, if you get the opportunity, definitely check out Spider-Man Brand New Day. All right, y'all. You know what to do. Look at our podcast on your favorite podcast provider. We're on Twitch live right now. Thank you for everyone hopping in the chat. Thank you for everyone watching on YouTube's. And you already know what to do. Go web, go.